Thank you, DPM, and again emphasizing the reduction in crime numbers, which I will repeat every single week again. And so we have the Prime Minister with us who will address us on these matters and also other matters, and we'll take some questions from the media. Please welcome our Prime Minister, Dr. the Most Honourable Andrew Holness.
Morning, everyone. I appear to be addressing you quite often these days. First, I think you could describe my interventions as a rap in media terms. I will be traversing several subject areas and trying to put everything into context. Let me begin with the recent rains that we have had as a result of the tropical storm. Minister Morgan would have given you an update as to the damage that took place. We are not yet in a position to give definitive figures as to the damage assessment and what it will cost. Our figures are preliminary, but we expect them to be in the wide region of between $500 million to $1 billion. But as I said, by the end of today, we will have more refined figures to share with the public. But I would like to point out that we have a multi-layered disaster risk response mechanism, which we didn't have 5 years or so ago. In other words, this is a new development in our government, which all Jamaicans should be proud of. One of the features of Jamaica, the old Jamaica, is that whenever disasters struck, particularly external, unexpected ones, like the ones that we are experiencing now, weather-based, climate-based disaster, we would have to borrow. It would have a significant fiscal impact. And I'm saying this to the public so that it gets into our consciousness, so that we appreciate that Jamaica has changed and changed in positive ways. Now, whenever there is an unexpected shock for the government, meaning something we did not budget for, the implication is not just that we will have to borrow to finance. The implication is that you will have to pay more taxes to eventually finance the borrowing. And one of the reasons why we have been able to say that for the life of our administration, you have had no net new taxes, it's precisely because we have transformed the way in which we manage your affairs. We have created fiscal buffers that are what we have used to support our response to disasters. And we have developed the National Natural Disaster Risk Financing Mechanism. And what that is we have made budgetary allocations to create buffers, which we have put into a contingency fund. That fund is approximately about 5 billion Jamaican dollars. And we use that to respond to disasters as they occur. So it is likely that we will be able to fund the damage from this most recent unexpected shock from what we have budgeted. In other words, Jamaica is at the stage where instead of borrowing to finance, what we do is we now set aside from the budget to be able to finance these things. It's a big change in how Jamaica operated. Now, it's multi-layered because what I've just outlined is just one element of the response, and we do have insurance in the CRIF. So if there are weather events that meet a certain threshold, then we can draw down on that insurance. I am not certain whether or not this weather event would meet the threshold, but all weather events that are of significance will be checked. And then Jamaica did something quite novel and innovative. We issued a catastrophe bond. We're the first to do it in this region, the first small country to do it. And if the weather event is of a particular significance, then we have resources that we would get from that as well. So we will be able to respond to these disasters. But for many Jamaicans, the question is, why does it take so long? And what about the conditions of our roads? So I'm here this morning to give some context to the government's response to natural disasters and specifically the conditions of our roads. Now, bear in mind that the majority of our roads are under extreme stress for several reasons. First, many of our roads, in fact, most of our roads, have passed their engineered useful life. They were built in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and the kind of maintenance that is required to extend the useful engineering life of these roads, we were not able to finance it over the last 50 or so years. So we have roads that are past their useful life. I mean, if you consider in any community in Jamaica, the road that passed your gate, for example, when was that road built in your community? And you would say decades ago. And how many times in those decades was your road substantially rehabilitated? So what we're facing is an accumulation of disinvestment in our roads, which have reached a crisis point. The second factor that we should bear in mind is that many of the roads that were constructed were not necessarily constructed to the engineering standards that would carry the level of traffic and the load. So in the last 10 years, I don't have the exact figure, I stand to be corrected, but the last figures I looked at suggested that the number of cars have significantly, probably doubled in Jamaica under this administration. So the wearing surface of roads are under significant stress. The third factor that we should consider is the change in climate change. Weather-related events are impacting our infrastructure in significant ways. And consider it from 2 points of view. First, it is the rain events. Many of our roads were not built in the first place with drainage, with the proper camber, and the layers of asphalt sometimes would not have been at the thickness to withstand the wear. The other point to note is that aside from increasing rain, there is also increased runoff. We have more houses, more paved areas, and that in itself generates more water, which wears the surface of the road. Consider as well that the time has gotten hotter, and that in itself has an impact on the material that is used. So if you put all of these things together, it is quite understandable why all Jamaicans are frustrated with the road situation. So I want to say to the country that the government is aware of it. The government is not insensitive to it. But to put Jamaicans in the frame of mind to understand that the response is not patch the road. Yes, we must respond by patching the road. It gives temporary relief. But if you really want to see a transformational change in Jamaica's road circumstances, in the same way that we have transformed our financial circumstances, it takes an enterprise-level plan to do it, meaning that it is a multifaceted response that is needed. And what has the government been doing to create this kind of multifaceted response to roads? The first thing is that we have to collect the data on our roads. We operated under the understanding that we had somewhere in the region of about 20,000 kilometers of roadways in Jamaica. And the NWA would have assessed that. My recollection of this is that about half of the roadways would be in need of repair. Recently, I directed the NWA and the Ministry of Local Government to do a national audit of our roadways. And so far it is looking like we have 27,000 kilometers of roads. And we're not completed yet. It might be a little bit more. So the notion that we were laboring under in terms of roadways that we have far more roads in terms of length. And by the way, this audit, it is not just merely looking at the GIS mapping. They actually went out, drove the roads, assessed some of the circumstances, measured the length of the roadway. In addition to that, we have now started to look at how are we going to administer the roads. Right now, the laws regarding how we administer the roads require that they be gazetted according to which entity uses them and whether or not they are local or main roads. So government is examining how do we administer the ledger of roads that we have. Another point to note is that for the public driving on a road, as far as they're concerned, every road is a responsibility of the government. Now, government can't work like that. I mean, government has to be responsible for the roads it knows of. And there is a process by which, and I'm using simple language, but there is a process by which the government comes into ownership or knowledge of a road. Not every road that is built is the government's responsibility. And I think that needs to get into the public consciousness in the conversation about roads. So there are some roads that are private roads. They're built in subdivisions, in gated communities, and so forth. Then there are roads that were built in housing schemes that should be handed over to the government, that people are driving on, the regular public is using the road. So technically, it's the government's road, but it's just not officially on the government's books as their roads. Or the NWA might not have it as their roads. The parish council may not have it as their roads. And these roads were aptly described in Parliament in a debate as orphan roads. In other words, no entity owns them. And there are many communities that are plagued by the frustration of not being able to get any entity to respond to their roads. So how we administer the roads, that is under consideration now. Many years ago, there was the contemplation of a one road authority. There is no position on that right now, but just to alert the public that in terms of our long-term strategic intervention on roads, we will have to look at how roads are accounted for and how they are administered in order that we can properly budget for them. The other issue with the roads in terms of how we account for them and how they are administered is the standards that we set for the roads. In other words, we can't just take over every new road that is built in every development. They must be built to specified standards. And there are standards in place, but we will be giving directives to the NWA regarding a review of these standards. We have effectively changed some of the standards of our road construction. For example, every main road that we are now building, we don't consider it just asphalting and putting on the blacktop. No, we consider it utility corridors. So we put in provisions for new water mains. We put in provisions for broadband internet. We make provisions for cameras and other sensors that might be needed. We look at the intersection, how that road relates to other roads, and the ease of traffic for the intersection. And of course, the ease of movement by pedestrians. So sidewalks and provisions for disabled persons, safety rails and other road furniture. All of that is a part of the standard that we are putting in, particularly for main roads. But for other roads, we will have to look at standards as well, and the NWA will be tasked to coming up with those standards. So now, I think from what I've said, you start to see the complexity of the issue of responding to the road crisis now, which crisis is an appropriate word to describe it. Now, once we have started to get the data on the road to properly categorize, solve the administrative issues relating to how we administer resources to these roads, then we have to pay attention, close attention, to the level of skill and enterprise of the persons who will actually do the work to build the roads, our contractors. And our contractors are critical stakeholders in our response to the construction and maintenance of our roads. Jamaica has a good cadre of contractors, but I think that in the next phase of Jamaica's intervention in our roads, we're going to need to work up front with our contractors to build capacity. I think the conversation has been not very helpful. There have been accusations and innuendos about contractors and their capabilities and so on. That's not helpful. What is helpful is if we take a proactive approach with our contractors and seek to assist them in building out their capabilities and their capacities, because this is in the national interest. You know, no matter how well we budget and how well we account for and administer the roads, the person who is actually laying the asphalt, we must ensure that they have the technical skills, the know-how, and of course, road projects require sometimes substantial balance sheets to be able to execute. So the government needs to examine ways in which we can support our contractors to develop the skills. Many of them have, but some of them are trying, but we need to support them. So we're going to be examining that and assist in the promotion and development of the contracting community, because oftentimes we simply just don't have enough contractors to do the level of work that is required, which is going to be the case, particularly as the Spark program rolls out. So let's move to the other element, which is procurement. And that takes some time. One project comes to mind, Minister, that bridge in Troy Bridge took 2 years. And the people in the community cut off were very frustrated. There is, once the law is in place, there's very little we can do to maneuver around it. We must comply with the law. But as lawmakers, who sit in Parliament, and that happens for a reason, meaning that the lawmakers can't be disconnected from the frustration of the people. And the frustration is government needs to move faster. So we must take a second look at the procurement process. You know, it's hard for me to say to someone who is dropping in a pothole every single day that they are going to work that, yes, your road is in procurement. And I'm not just talking about the procurement phase, it's from the investment phase right through to the contracting, which includes the procurement, to the actual work being done. And that entire administrative bureaucracy that has been put in place needs a second look, given the urgency and crisis that we have with our roads. So I wanted to just bring the public up to date in what the government is doing behind the scenes to have a comprehensive response to the road situation in Jamaica. We are going to fix your roads, and when it is done, it will be transformational. And like everything else that we have done, it's not a patch response. It is building systems in place that will become institutions that will endure, that will solve the problem over the short, medium, and long term. So that we put that behind us. In the same way we have solved the fiscal issues, we're going to take the same strategic, instrumental approach to dealing with our roads. And you would have seen that with the announcement of the Spark program, which I must give commendations to Minister Clark. Minister Clark and myself conceived the program and found the funding for it. Former Minister Clark. We found the funding for it, and I also must give commendations to the NWA, E.G. Hunter and others in particular, who constructed the program in such a way that it could move very quickly. Minister Morgan is piloting that program now. We have passed the public investment assessment phase. We have almost completed, Minister, the procurement phase. That is still ongoing, but we're close to completing. So hopefully, the start date which we were giving in November, I'm still being hopeful that we could get it in November. But the project is well on its way. You're not seeing the actual asphalt hitting the road, but believe me when I tell you, the asphalt putting on the road is maybe 20% of the entire project, from conception to the public investment assessment to procurement to contracting, procurement, and then implementation. So we're close to starting that. Now, as I wrap up on roads, $40 billion, it's the largest allocation ever for roads. And these are roads that the public has an input in determining what is the priority. 20 billion of that will go to local roads, and it is distributed equitably per constituency. And the constituents would have attended the consultations, they would have raised their issues, and we did that because, yes, there is a culture of blocking the road in the belief that somehow that is going to spur the government into action. Two things. One, we know about the condition of the road because we are assessing the road. And secondly, you know, if the government were to respond to every roadblock, it would be chaotic, all right? So as a nation, we need to understand that, you know, it is not a negligent government that is uncaring and not paying attention. Rather, it is a huge problem, and it is not your community alone. And the government is putting in place a strategic, well-thought-out response that will ensure that your road will not just be patched, but a full rehabilitation that will last you significantly, maybe even a lifetime. And that needs to be understood. $20 billion will go to main roads, and that will be at the direction of the NWA. And those roads, the criteria would be high traffic, strategic connectivity, and enhancing, our productivity. So clearly, we're going to look at roads that enhance productivity, connectivity, and strategic value. And $5 billion we have committed to ensure that we lay the water mains along these roads so that we don't have to go back and dig up the road again. So there are some roads that there are no water mains there, but if we're going to do it, may as well we put in those water mains. There are some roads where the water mains are old, they're calcified, broken, or too small. We will replace them. So with that, I say to Jamaicans that I'm not asking for your patience, I'm asking for your understanding. And giving you the assurance that we will fix your roads. Already, we have allocated an additional $3 billion for patching. Minister Morgan may have given you an update on that. Note that we cannot patch if it is raining. From a technical perspective with the asphalt, but even from an economical perspective, you patch today and it rains tomorrow and all of that is gone again, wasted. We're coming up today, Christmas season, which coincides with our routine maintenance regime. So there will be a further allocation to constituencies for patching. So there will be some funds in the system to be able to respond at the local level to some of the concerns that exist. So I want, again, to say to the Jamaican people, government understands the issue. We agree it is at a crisis proportion. We did not create this problem. This problem is 50 years in the making. It's compounded, and just to be clear, it is a problem of lack of the financial resources over the last 50 years to make the investments in the roads. So when we complain about what is not being done, what is not being done is not the lack of the things you have. What was not being done was to create the economy that gives the wherewithal, the resources to provide you with the things we have. Our conversation is one-sided, lopsided, and very narrow. We complain we don't have buses, we don't have roads, we don't have water. Complain about the economy. It is the economy that you didn't have, that you didn't hold the governments then to account, that created these problems. And until our political discourse improves, then these problems will continue because we keep letting off governments easily for not fixing the economic problems while giving you promises about the ills that it creates. All right? It is the economy. It's about creating the economy. And what this administration is trying to do is to say to the higgler in the market, the teacher in the classroom, the small businessman, the housewife, let us build a productive economy. When we increase productivity in the economy, we have more resources. And that's what we've been doing. We have been increasing the productivity in the economy. And we have seen that productivity increase in small ways by increasing employment. So once more people are employed, more production is taking place. But we are at the point where we are almost at full employment. So where is the productivity going to come from? It is going to come from the increase in productivity of labor, but even more so, the increase in productivity from businesses, how businesses administer their affairs. And that now we're talking about innovation, administration, the creation of new products, the introduction of technology, the creation of new industries. That is where the big productivity gains are going to come from. And when we get those big productivity gains, we're going to take that and support the fixing of your roads, your water supply. Every Jamaican must make that connection. Now, let's talk about another pain point in the society. Minister Chang would have spoken to you in his presentation regarding the crime situation in Jamaica. Today, I just want to add to what Minister Chang has said. We called in the High Command to Cabinet on Monday, and we discussed a policy issue. Remember, we don't give directives, operational directives to the police, but it is the duty of the government to give general policy directions and to express concerns that we have in terms of emerging issues. Of course, we gave commendations to the force regarding the reduction in homicides and shootings and the general reduction in crime. But we remain concerned that even though there is a downward trajectory, that the public is still of the view that crime is high. It is, again, a conflicting perception, but we don't argue with the perception of the public. What we try to do is to give information and place things into context. So we can understand if Jamaica is coming from 30, 40 years of high murders and high crime, and we're already at a very high level, that even though reduction is taking place, it is not yet at the threshold where the average person believes that the crime and violence situation has improved. So we accept and we understand that. But again, to place this into context, if you look at victimization surveys, you would see that the average person in Jamaica would not be an outlier as it relates to victimization, meaning that our victimization rates are not exceptionally over and above victimization rates for the region, meaning what people experience in terms of murders. There might be areas that are where it is concentrated, and so in those communities the victimization rate is high, but for the rest of the country it's not an outlying situation. But Jamaica is an outlier as it relates to the murder rate, murders per 100,000. And it is an outlier as it relates to guns used in murders. Jamaica is an outlier also as it relates to gang, meaning the organized armed violence. So Jamaica's gangs are not youths on the corner who are organizing to protect their community from whatever outside threats. No, Jamaica's gangs are organized entities, meaning that they act with intelligence. They specifically go to recruit youngsters, and they use violence for economic means. So there is an objective that they are about. So these are persons who are trying to make money off using crime and particularly violence. So you have gangs that are involved in crime, but there is no violence. Jamaica's gangs, they organize for crime and they use violence. And another feature is that they use weapons, armed violence. So I think every community should reject the notion that somehow the Don is a Robin Hood and he's there to help you or support you or he's there favorably protected. That's nonsense. They are criminals who are organizing the youngsters in your community to commit crimes to make money for themselves. And that is where we are an outlier. More than 60%, 70% of our homicides are related to this kind of activity, which is why we are focused on reducing, degrading, and eliminating gangs. So we were at one point as many as over 300 gangs, and now we are down to, I gather, 180, 170. We're now down to 170. So we're making progress. We're making progress. But we are particularly concerned about a new, it's not new, it's always been there, but in light of the reduction in murders, we see this emerging threat of, some people have described it as mass shootings. I want to be more careful with my language, but multiple fatality shooting incidents. So you would have, Minister Chang would have given you an update on Cherry Tree Lane, on Warwick Hill, now Pleasant View Heights, and some other shootings that have happened in Bowen Lane, that's adjoining my constituency, and other areas. And the reason why we are concerned is that the efforts that we are making in reducing shootings and murders could easily be wiped out by just one incident. And this is of concern to us, of grave concern to us. So what we have been doing is we have looked at the laws, and we have been examining the possible responses that the security forces could have. And the law does give some account for such actions under the Offenses Against the Person Act. A person who commits a murder and who is convicted of the same especially if the murder is committed under the circumstances where the act appears to be calculated to create a state of fear in the public or any section of the public, that the maximum penalty, or rather the maximum charge, should be applied, meaning a sentence of death or life imprisonment. So I believe that the police should start to look at these kinds of shootings and seek to prosecute along those lines. Again, that would be a kind of direction that we have given to the police. In other words, we need to start treating these incidents as criminal terrorism. And we probably need to craft legislation to specifically identify these kinds of shootings. We are saying that they are mass shootings. I don't like the term. I would prefer to say multiple fatalities, multiple victims, or multiple fatal victims incidents. So we are examining the legislation to see how we can craft specific laws around that, or whether or not we actually have legislation that can be used together to create that impact. Because it is beyond me to see why someone would see a festive event going on, as in Cherry Tree Lane, or in Warwick Hills, Pleasant View Heights, and just open fire on a crowd. I mean, what other reason could there be aside from just the sheer inhumanity and savagery, other than to create fear in a community and the public? Terror is the word for it. And therefore, these persons are not ordinary criminals. They are your worst kind and should be pursued with extreme prejudice. So the police, I believe, have been doing a good job in pursuing these criminals, and I want them to know, whoever is out there listening, planning, that we will find you, and you will either meet a judge or your maker. Choice is yours. Outside of that, the government will continue to incentivize the public to share information. In the Cherry Tree Lane incident, we had put up a reward of about 20 million Jamaican dollars. 25? Yeah, so we're going to increase that. The permanent secretary is just hearing me say that now. We'll look at the budget and see what we have. But we must incentivize the sharing of information. And anytime there is any shooting that is a multiple victim shooting, there will be a substantial reward for the public, for anyone who would give information leading to the capture, arrest of anyone who is involved, including persons who provide information, aid and abet in any way those persons who commit those crimes. I know that the police have special formations in place to deal with this, but we have also given direction that they increase their intelligence assets around these crimes to ensure that the perpetrators are caught and brought to justice. So I want to assure the Jamaican people, particularly as we head into the festive season, that the police will be vigilant and we will increase the resources to ensure that we give general coverage and protection, but that these multiple victim incidents are addressed specifically. And as I close on that point, I've seen the pleadings and complaints of persons in the entertainment industry. My constituency is one area that thrives on the street dances and the parties. You know, I have invested in developing the hip strip in my constituency. So I well understand, you know, that round robins and parties are legitimate economic activities, and the government supports legitimate economic activities. And we want people to enjoy themselves, right? And these parties can be a good way of bringing communities together. And if properly managed, it can become a real major industry for Jamaica. So I don't want our promoters to feel that somehow, you know, the government is against promote. That's not true. But it is equally of concern when we note that many of these mass shootings, as they are called, the multiple victim incidents, are occurring in proximity or at festive events, bars and parties and so forth. The response has been to be preemptive, and the local police commanders have exercised their authority in curtailing some of these events. But we acknowledge that that can't be the only response, that we really have to bring the community in and work with them to establish the security protocols and actions that they need to put in place to prevent some of these things from happening. I mean, one immediately comes to mind is your event space being recorded by surveillance cameras? And that is something that could easily be put in as a start, as a deterrent. When you're having these parties, yes, you go and apply for a permit, but why not go and sit down with the local commander first and say, give me a security assessment of the area. I'm planning something. How can I be of assistance to you in ensuring that the security environment is safe for everyone? Because you want your party, your event to be safe for your patrons as well. So I think that there has to be a kind of different approach. So from a policy perspective, we are examining that, and you will hear more about how we will give some directions, particularly coming up to the festive seasons, to keep these events safe. We want the events to be held. They are legitimate activities. They bring income to the communities in which they are held. We want them, but we also want the safety of the people who attend these events. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I was giving you an extensive wrap, but this was a wrap with a blanket. Thank you very much.
Naomi, I know we're at 10:02, and both PM and DPM and Minister Morgan have to be somewhere else. So I think we could take maybe 2 questions.
Indeed. We have our representative from the Gleaner here, so we'll be very quick about it. Good morning once again.
Hi, good morning. Sashana Small from the Gleaner. I have a question for the PM and for the Deputy PM as well.
Gentlemen.
Prime Minister, when can the country expect to hear the announcement of a senator replacement for Matthew Samuda? And we have been getting reports of contractors who completed roadworks with the NWA but from May but have not been paid. Why is this? A question.
Let me just quickly, with the questions that were asked. The government is, we are currently examining the composition of the Senate. As you would have seen, the government has been steadily refreshing itself and renewing its human resources, and that also extends to the Senate. So very shortly, we will complete that process. In terms of the contractors, Minister Morgan would probably be able to give you specifics. There is a process of ensuring and validating works done before payments are made. Sometimes that process can be long, and though the budget allocations are made.
Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Some people think the Zaxby Sensation salad
works, and usually sometimes there are disputes as well that account for the delay. But to say generally, there is a valid concern for contractors, and not just construction and infrastructure contractors, but contractors to the government generally, about the long time it takes for them to get paid. So one of the first tasks that I have given Minister Williams is to examine this process to ensure that government is actually speeding up economic activity by paying its bills quickly and on time. So that's a specific task that has been given to Minister Williams. Before I turn over to Minister, let me, I haven't said it yet, but though I have tweeted, is to congratulate the President-elect of the United States, President Trump, and his victory last night. Of course, one of the contestants in the race has some Jamaican connections, and we wish Vice President Harris all the best.
Dr. Chang, so my question for you is, when can we expect the enhanced security measures to be brought to Parliament? And Indicom recently raised concerns about police officers not wearing their body cameras in shooting incidents specifically. What is the ministry doing to address this?
Well, to kind of begin at the back end, first of all, Indicom, many police officers wear cameras. You must face the fact. The primary benefit of cameras is in public order. So when police officers apprehend vendors on the street, people disposing of garbage, and events that might be too loud, and they seek to apprehend, they have to remove equipment or take away vendors, which we're going to change in terms of how we deal with that. But those situations where cameras are valued, and we have heard very little of anything of that sort, where policemen had seen brutalizing citizens. In a homicide situation, which is being emphasized by both some public interests and individuals, and it's their right to do so on Indicom, it's of very little value. If you get in combat with a camera on your chest, first of all, you're going to die because you're being shot at. And the JDF has used them before in the helmets, and they prove quite invaluable because they fell off, they got knocked off, and they have very little value in those situations. So the first we're equipping are the PSTB formation, which is dealing with the public in public order. It is of very little value, and you don't need to be an expert to understand it. You put a helmet, a camera on your chest, you start shooting at somebody. First they start shooting at you, you're going to die for cover. Policemen are not in. They have helmets and vests, but they are not designed to take shots really, before they respond. So that has to be borne in mind. But we take the comments from the INDICOM, we examine them, and I'll be meeting with the leadership to discuss that. Enhanced security measures, well, look, we have many enhanced security measures out there. The legislature itself, as a specific entity which has been described in policy, is awaiting further research by the lawyers. But as far as enhanced security measures, all I've announced this morning are enhanced security measures. And the future formations, they increase the redevelopment of the highway patrol, they focus on gangs, increase intelligence activity, both technologically and human resources, are a suite of activities that are enhanced security measures. There's a focused piece of legislation which requires legal scholars to research and give me the advice, and the Prime Minister. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chang, and thank you to all of our participants this morning, especially our Prime Minister, who gave us a lot of information in relation to roads and the context around roads, and also in terms of crime numbers. And as I leave you today, just noting again that from January to November 2024, major crimes in Jamaica have decreased by 15%. Murders are down by 19%. Which means 233 people did not lose their lives. And that's important. Shootings are down by 9%, rapes have declined by 28%, and robberies are down by 21%. There is more work to be done, but we have to applaud the JCF in achieving these types of numbers. And so we know today is a big day. We have nomination day for 2 divisions and 2 constituencies. And so we close off our post-cabinet press briefing now. And I say, as usual, God bless all of you watching, and God bless Jamaica, land we love.
Are these people living in a modern Jamaica? I didn't try to say anything, because I'm planning a program. But I have to come on. Are these people living in Jamaica that you and I family is living in? Is the Minister of National Insecurity living in a Jamaica that you and I is living in? If you all remember on my Monday night program, on Monday, I asked Wilfred Rattigan. I said to him, Mr. Rattigan, if you are in charge of members within the FBI and they're not wearing their body cams, Mr. Rattigan said to me, start wearing them at anybody who's working with him as they come on duty, that have on their body cams. When you hear what the twin dumb Minister of National Security said a while ago, I tell you sometimes, I love to listen to these people, because I don't want nobody to come and tell me anything that I say. I love to listen to the craziness of these people. Why can't they show the data and tell us how they get the data of the mass shooting in this country? Why can't they come and tell the Jamaican people the truth? And you know the saddest thing? The saddest reality that many of us in this country and outside of Jamaica do not want to face. That this man may get back in power. The reality is this. Hold on for me. The reality that this Prime Minister, when he calls the election, may get back in power. And this is what happened in the United States. Do not put it past people in Jamaica. Which modern democracy are these leaders living in? What Jamaica are these leaders living in? What Jamaica are these leaders living in? You come to tell the Jamaican people this morning that crime has gone down. When last week and the week before, Jamaica had a mass murder in Warwick Hills. Somewhere in St. Andrew, Jamaica. Between St. Andrew and Jamaica. St. Andrew and Kingston rather. Another mass shooting, 8 people, 3 fatal or 5 fatal. And you all have the audacity to be coming and tell the Jamaican people that crime has gone down. What sort of country are they living in? What sort of reality are they living in? What sort of reality are these people living in? God forbid, Mr. Tavares and Mr. Jeffrey. God forbid. Remember, telling on this platform, do not be surprised if this man don't go back in. I listen to the polls within the unit, and I'll come and say politics because I don't like doing it. And the polls were saying that even a man who predicted America's election for many years, that she's gonna win. Did she win? Do not be surprised if Michael Andrew Holness do not become the Prime Minister of this country come 2025. For them to come and tell us the level of nonsense they're telling the Jamaican people. Crime gone down. I can find this video here of the twiddly dum-dum Minister of National Security. Hold on a minute for me. Don't move. Okay, I started back from myself. I behave myself. Hold on there for me. Because I don't understand something here. It seems as if something wrong with me. Hold on there. I can get him to come on now. Something not adding up here. Something not adding up. I want you to listen to what the Minister of National Security said. Jamaica's world-class Minister of National Security. She's going to introduce him now. Listen to this.
Deputy Prime Minister, we're going to be inviting you to lead off on the presentation on the reduction in crime and the work of the JCF.
Thank you. Good morning. Good to see everybody out as well after yesterday's events, safe and dry. But let me recognize my colleague, Minister Dana Morris. She is still with us. She has taken on a much wider role. As a role, a heavier load. But she has a good team work with her. And of course, Minister Morgan, you have just heard. A good morning again to you and to all Jamaicans listening. With me this morning, of course, I have Deputy Commissioner Richard Stewart and team members from the JCF, Assistant Commissioner Mr. McLaughlin from CTOC, Acting Assistant Commissioner, Mr. Wayne Joseph from the CIB and the Intelligence, and of course, Mr. Wayne, Senior Superintendent Wayne Clark of the Intelligence Department. And my Permanent Secretary, Ambassador Alice Stoneroofs, joined us for this small presentation. Today, we'd like to provide the nation with some updates on the matters relating to the major crime landscape. This particularly in light of the recent incident of multiple killings in three different parishes. These include the events in particular Cherry Tree Lane out in Clarendon, Pleasant Heights, formerly called Warwick Hills in the St. Andrew Hills, and of course Boyne Road recently in South St. Andrew, have understandably caused concern among our citizens. I want to reassure the nation that Jamaica Constabulary Force is working tirelessly to maintain peace and security and bring the perpetrators of these heinous acts to justice. We understand the gravity of the situation and are treating each incident with the utmost priority. This has been a priority for the government of Andrew Holness from the very beginning. Our approach is multifaceted and includes intensified investigative efforts, leveraging intelligence and deploying a significant operational presence to target key actors and protect those persons who are vulnerable and likely victims. While the incidents are deeply concerning, it is important to highlight they are not random acts of violence. They are linked to conflicts between organized criminal groups involving gang activities, drug trafficking, lottery scamming, as we call advanced fee fraud, called by the Americans elder fraud, and of course gun running. In the major crimes summary for the period of January 1 to November 4, 2024, reflects a significant reduction in criminal activity compared to the same period in 2023.
Sorry, hold on a minute for me. These people come and tell us that crime has gone down. They don't come and tell us how crime gone down, you know. They don't come and tell us, hey, this is what happened in this period of time. And majority of the crime happened in Jamaica. Majority of the murders happen in Jamaica. They do not record it. They do not record it. So I don't understand one minister. Harris Chan is going to come and tell us that crime is going down, trending down. Somebody please tell me, because I'm daft, me fool and dumb. Like so many other Jamaicans. Come and tell me how you tell us that crime is going down. Yet, Indicom and other sources saying something different. When police themselves refuse to wear body cameras, when they go around and gun down innocent citizens and beat up innocent citizens, you, Dr. Armstrong, is saying that make no sense they work all the time. That's exactly what you're saying to us. So you all Minister of National Insecurity, is saying to the police officers, beat the little dirty command for black niggas then. Beat them. And shoot and ask questions after. This is the country, this is the reality of Jamaica that we're living in. When we have leaders in this country continue lying to the people of this country. This is what I love to sit down and listen to these people. And sometimes I don't say nothing because they get me so irritable sometimes. And when they call the election, what the difference is going on here? Oh Lord. I don't know what happened. I lost everything here. We do apologize. I don't know what happened. I even lost my background and everything. What happened? I don't know. Can you all hear me? Don't know what's going on. See that they're trying to sabotage me. I don't understand what's going on here at all. Let me figure out something here. We do apologize about this. Let me go back to what I was talking about with the Minister of National Security. Let's go back to this press briefing here.
There has been an
Yes. Based on what this minister is saying, that crime is going down, that is going down, and they can't come and tell us how crime is going down. They can't come and tell the Jamaican people how crime is going down. But listen to some of what Dr. Harris trying to say. Like somebody tried to hack in my system a while ago. Listen to this, please.
an overall reduction in major crimes by 15%, with key categories showing marked improvement. And the last quarter, the quarter we are coming out of, August, September, October, has traditionally been the highest quarter for the year. Traditionally. And the August, September, October 2024 has been the lowest 3 months for the last 5 years. I emphasize that because it reflects the introduction of new strategies by Commissioner Kevin Blake and the team of officers leading the police force today. The total number of murders recorded has fallen by 19%, and that is 233 fewer persons killed this year. Additionally, shootings have seen a reduction of 9%. The guns are still there. We're taking steps to get them off the road. In terms of rapes, there has been a notable decline of 28%. Robbery incidents decreased by 21%. When we look at the divisions that are usually problematic, we have seen even more significant decreases. Indeed, the police indicated that they're going to focus on the 5 critical divisions that literally causes about nearly 50% of the murders in the country on an annualized basis. They are down by some 22% at this point in time. They involve St. James, which is down by 32%, Westmoreland down by 12%, Clarendon down by 39%, Kingston West is down by 30%. They would take note of those 3, St. James, Clarendon, and West Kingston have areas that hit the emotional and the ears of our people very quickly. There have been dramatic reduction there by virtue of the increased police activity and deployment and intelligence work in these areas. And of course, St. Andrew South, which is down by 14%. Another feature of our success by the police has been the significant reduction in incidents of multiple murders. While the recent 3 have shaken the society, in a sense, it is more a reflection of the fact that the society has gotten less, hearing less about multiple murders, and when they happen, it does create a sort of social shock. And indeed, we are concerned about them as everybody's society. At this point last year, there were 78 incidents of double murders with 156 victims. This year, there have been 40 such incidents with 80 victims, and we continue to take action to reduce that kind of activity. And
you continue to take actions to reduce this type of activities. Huh? You continue to take actions to reduce this type of activities. Yet, Sunday morning, when a well-known journalist called me and said to me, Mr. Tavares, we have some breaking news for you. Early in the morning, he called me and said to me, when I ran the breaking news, I went on the Gleaner website and I saw it too. a mass shooting, and the Prime Minister refused to call it a mass shooting. The Prime Minister of this country refused to call it a mass shooting. That is why we need to listen. Whenever I come on air with these people, you need to listen and don't criticize. Listen to the garbage that they're talking sometimes. Listen to the garbage they're talking sometimes. And we know must speak sense of the nonsense. This is the nation. And when I say to you again, I want to say to you all again this morning, do not be surprised if this Prime Minister don't get back in. And people may say, Jeffrey, go away and listen to that. There's an old saying, you know, one day in politics is like a year. One day in politics is like a year. A well-known American historian and a person who predicted America's election for many years. He predicted Ronald Reagan election. He predicted Obama election. He did say that Secretary Clinton wasn't going to win. He predicted this one. And the person he predicted was going to win, the person never win. It leaves up to the electors, it leaves up to the voters rather. The people who go to the booth to vote. Those are the people that every election around the world depends on. You could go around and take 1 million polls. When you go behind that booth there, it's between you and your God who you're going to vote for. So do not be surprised this morning that this Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Michael Holness, and people maybe say, Jeffrey, go ahead. Do not be surprised if the Jamaican people put them back in. Do not be surprised if the Jamaican people don't put back in that man. Do not be surprised. The level of barbarousness, the level of nepotism, the level of cronyism, the level of criminality going on in the country. Do not be surprised if the voters of Jamaica do not vote back in Andrew Holness. Because majority of Jamaicans believe that crime is going down. Do not be surprised. I keep on saying to people, you know, on here and off here when they call me, you know. I said, listen to me. We could come on our platform and talk to you blue in the face. Everything lies up. Everything lies in the hands of the Jamaican people who lives in Jamaica. The people outside of Jamaica can talk, but everything lies in the hands of the Jamaican people who lives in Jamaica, not we. We could have 1 million protests in the 50 states in America about Jamaica. If the people of Jamaica don't get up, nothing that we do outside of Jamaica will make any sense. They have to do something. And I'm saying to you this morning, it's nomination day in Jamaica for the by-elections. We're going to bring that to you live too. Hopefully we can get some live feed from them. Do not be surprised If the people of our country who will call us and say, boy, things hard down here, things rough down here, don't be surprised. Hey, boy, how you doing? I'm live on here, you know. Yeah, man, I'm live on here. Let me call you back. Because I think there's something going on with the system here, so I have to shut down pretty soon and start my go. She lost the election, man. Let me talk off here. Let me talk off here. All right. Okay. So all we do, we get up and we talk. And we show them what is going on. We show them the little asphalt on the road. We show them everything. But if they do not stand up and speak out and group up together, that's what my good friend Jerry Small said, organized. If they don't organize, nothing that we say, nothing that Simon Crosdale, nothing that Conrad O'Brien, nothing that Cliff Hughes, nothing that anybody who is on public, whether Emily Crooks or Emily Shields, nothing that Wilfred Rattigan or Jeffrey Tavares or Wayne Lonesome or Andre Stevenson, a Hot Topic, a Jamaican pass by or walk by. Nothing that a Mystic Sensation. Nothing that they say. Nothing that a Wayne, that a Colin Bell in Portland will say. If the people of our country do not organize themselves, we could chat to people in the face. Wilmot Perkins did it. Barbara Bluden did it. Everybody did it. The country is still in the same shebang around. Got a call last night from a well-known person who listened to both all of our show. And she's asking the question, what can we do? We can't do nothing. Jamaicans who live in the diaspora can't do nothing. You see? They can't do nothing. But we must wake up in this country and call a spade a spade. If we don't stand up, if the Jamaican people do not stand up and demand what they need, then all when me and all of gone. If we have to Pitney and Grand Pitney and Great Grand Pitney, not still face the shebang and still talking like over there that talk. You're talking about how contractors not getting the pay for the works that they're doing on the roads. And the little asphalt that they're using. We better wake up. And we better wake up now. What I see happen last night, I don't want to comment on it, but there's some dark days ahead of us. There's some dark days ahead of us. And what is going on in our country, Jamaica? Nothing that we are saying, if the people of our country is saying everything is okay, then everything is okay. But do not be surprised if when Andrew Michael Holness either call the election this year or next year, do not be surprised if you don't sit back in Jamaica House. Do not be surprised, because everything lies in the hands of the people of Jamaica. Not me, not you. the people of Jamaica. May God bless you all. May God bless Jamaica land we love. May we continue to pray for this nation and hope that the people may see the light. And hope that the people may open their eyes and see that there is something at the end of this tunnel. But if we don't demand the government of the people, for the people, and by the people, then there's nothing to be done in this country. Here? I'm not taking any calls. I am not taking any calls. I am not taking any calls. So who want to call, I can call, because I'm not taking any calls. You see? If we do not stand up and ask ourselves, what can we do as people who live in the shores of our country, Jamaica, on that piece of rock that we call home? They already tell us in the diaspora we don't have no standing. So those who have standing must be the one to lead the charge. Those who have standing must be the one to lead the charge. Not you, not a Wilfred Rattigan, not anybody, but those who live on that piece of rock in the Caribbean Sea. They are the ones who have to lead the charge in this country and demand accountability. Demand the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Not you, not I. You will see, as I said earlier on election day, the voters have the say. Not no poll, not a person who may predict an election. The people on election day has the final say. The people on election day has the final say of who they want to govern them. No poll. My good friend and Anderson, you'll understand this too. The people of Jamaica, the people of Israel, the people of wherever. And I'll use Jamaica. You could use that Anderson Paul till they blow in the face. Jamaicans will go in a booth and take a 20-degree turn. It lies in the hands of the Jamaican people. You are so correct. Jamaicans in Jamaica do not care what is going on in Jamaica because they have people in the diaspora who can help them. Well, give me a thing, man. And then get you in Ghana. So they don't care what is going on in the country. The voters on election day, when all the ballots are counted, when all the ballots are tallied, and the time to call out who will lead our nation, Jamaica, then that's the time you will see who. Because the people have the final say in the decision making of their country. Not you in the diaspora, not me in the diaspora, the people of our country, Jamaica. And if they sit down and realize and say to themselves that, sure, we get used to crime, then we are here talking about no crime, no gone down. Then things are crime gone down. Because of all the mass shooting in our country, you don't think that they'll get up and say, no man, this can't continue. You don't think that civil society will wake up and say, no, we have to lead something, lead a charge. Nobody get up. Of all the mass murders going on in our country, the mass shooting rather, not murder, the mass shooting going on in the country. You see anybody get up? You don't see a soul get up. Not one single soul get up. No civil society, no Jamaicans for Justice, no NIA, no church, no Jamaica Council of Churches or Jamaica List of Churches. Nobody get up. Because they accept what is going on. Do not be surprised that when the election is called in Jamaica, that this governing Labour Party don't go back in. Don't be surprised. You're asking where the funds are? Is the Jamaican people asking where the funds are? Is the Jamaican people asking where is the money I was sent down to help very relief programs? The people of St. Elizabeth, are they asking about it? Is the Jamaican people asking about what is happening with the coronavirus? Yes, funds that sent down to Jamaica. Are the people of Jamaica asking about it? Huh? Are the people of our country asking about it? You tell them time and time again, you have a smartphone in your hand. This is your smartphone. You have a smartphone in your hand. You can get everything on this smartphone. Are they doing anything about it? Are they trying to educate themselves? Every single soul is quiet. Nobody speaking about anything. Not one single soul saying, you know what? We can't take this no more. Mass shooting. Every other weekend there's a mass shooting. And they sit down in the country. They say nothing. So you all think that we who are trying to educate and we who are trying to say X, Q, Y, Z. A lot of people will not agree with me. You know. And I don't think to agree with me. This is my view. The way how I see things are going now. This is my views. My personal views that they make with our views. My personal views. But I do not see a road where the Jamaican people can say yes. Because what? They're pitting their scam other people. Me say there's a scamming thing going on now. Well, they hack your WhatsApp. No, I'm not saying it's Jamaicans doing it. But other people know that their sons and their daughters involved in all sorts of nastiness. So they don't care what's going on in the country. They don't care. When you hear a pastor man is saying that the prime minister must have 38 bank accounts out of a bank account, and the members of his congregation who are dead for hungry say, yes, that's true, yeah, Bishop, that's true. Understand, there's nothing wrong with it. When the congregation hear their bishop or their pastor says that the prime minister should have 30 bank accounts, they say yes. So on the things, anything other, when the people have their mindset, so nothing, everything all right in Jamaica. A charge was led by members of the Jamaican diaspora who protest against the lack of proper health care, the crime, the this, the that, the corruption in our country. Did you see anyone in our country stand up and say, yes, them started like we started to? Peacefully. The closest we get to that is when the staff members of that hotel in Negril decide to get up and say, okay, we're not going anymore. You see, the amount of mass shooting in this country, and you believe that Jamaicans will get up and say, no, man, we can't take this. They sit down because the party in power. And the Jamaican they think about the party. And they will kill their own family members for the party. May God bless you all. May God bless Jamaica land we love. But if we as a nation, as a people, what I see happen last night, and I sit down and I think about it, no polls decide the fate of a nation. The voters decide the fate of a nation. Not any polls, not any pollster, not any predictor. The people. We the people. We the Jamaican people decide on election day in Jamaica. We decide who we want to lead our nation. So the poll may be trending in one way and say yes. But on election day, it's not the poll that go out there and vote. We the people go out there and vote. You said Jamaicans are behind them. You said Jamaicans are behind them. You said Jamaicans are behind them. Let us see. Well, my views is my views. Let us all see if the Jamaican people are behind. Thank you all very much for coming on. Thank you all for being a part of this program. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And remember that every Monday, from next week Monday, we'll be having Make We Talk Current Affairs program every single Monday at 8 o'clock, starting from 7:30. The guests will come on at 8. So we're having our current affairs program. I'm hosting the program. Co-host is Head Boy and Maria. We're gonna try and have some guests come on this week, to speak to us about what is going on in both in Jamaica and the wider world. You understand it yet? Aye, Jesus. Near my God to thee, but you know something? When God is for you, no man can be against him. So all they want to plan, let they plan. We serve an awesome God. We serve an awesome God. When they want to plan, let they continue planning. But there are some dark days ahead of us. Some dark days ahead of us in this country. Jamaica, whether we like it, yes or no, we the people don't speak out and demand accountability, then dark days ahead of us. God bless you. God bless our island home, Jamaica. May we continue to do what we can to assist the people of our country. Because if we don't, then who will? If it's not now, then when? If we the people don't demand accountability at this time, this present moment, then when will we do so? If it's not now, then when? join us on Sunday also. We'll be having a live broadcast from Port Antonio. Hopefully we can get the live feed, where the President of the People's National Party and opposition leader, Mr. Mark Golden, MP, will be presenting the candidate for East Portland, attorney at law, our good friend Isaac McCann. The conference and presentation will be live on the Make We Talk program. And this Sunday coming. And on Monday, we have our current affair programs consist of yours truly, Jeffrey T, and also Headboard. Thank you all for coming on the program. Thank you all for watching the program. Thank you all to all my faithful listeners and faithful subscribers. Thank you very much. God bless you once more. May God bless Jamaica land we love. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk, my people, make we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Make we talk, people, make we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see. Conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, make we talk. Hey, we're living in a world that on ourselves we must depend. Make we talk.